Thank you. So our first speaker today is Diane Greenlee. Her path is Pathways Dynamic Leadership, Level 1, Option 2, Intro to Vocal Variety Only. And it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. The title of her speech is Ordinary Joys. Diane is delivering her third speech in Level 1 of the Dynamic Leadership Pathway. The purpose of the project is to practice using vocal variety to enhance a speech. Vocal variety has to do with the use of pitch, tone, volume, and the rate of speech. Diane's speech today has to do with the concept of happiness and learning how to find more joy in the ordinary moments in life, rather than taking happiness on the few and far between extraordinary moments. You'll learn about the science behind happiness and how you can raise your own happiness baseline. Take it away, Diane.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Hello, fellow Toastmasters. And I won't call you all couch potatoes, but if you are, you know who you are. When you think about the concept of happiness, do you think about it as something that is found outside of you in the extraordinary moments of your life and things? Or do you think about it as something that you create within yourself? Maybe it's a bit of both. Happiness is an interesting thing. Society tells us that happiness is found in the extraordinary moments in our lives. It's buying a home, getting a promotion, getting married, or going on an extravagant vacation. If you think about it, most of us are generally always striving towards the next big thing that's going to make us happy, because the reality is the way our brains are wired prevent that extraordinary happiness from lasting very long. In fact, we all have a set happiness baseline, and regardless of the good or bad things that happen to us, after the newness of the event wears off, our happiness levels tend to balance back out. But what if I told you that you could raise your happiness baseline? Raising your happiness baseline starts with thinking about the concept of happiness differently. I'll tell you how I figured that out. Like everyone else during the pandemic, I really went through it. I struggled really hard with my mental health and I felt caged. Even after the lockdowns were lifted, I was working from home. My daughter was doing online school for a time, and there were still restrictions in place that limited what I could go and do. I realized that I had to find joy in my life as it was. I was never going to feel any better. That's when I decided to start researching books on happiness. I came across one that changed my life. The Unexpected Joy of the Ordinary by Catherine Gray is a book that is a mixture of research on happiness, ways to implement lessons learned from the research, and the author's own journey with happiness. The single biggest takeaway for me is that lasting happiness is not found in the extraordinary moments in our lives. It's not found in stuff. So it doesn't matter if you buy your dream home, you get that promotion, or you win the lottery. And yes, I mean that. In a study by the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, researchers found that lottery winners are no happier than you and I a year after winning the lottery. This is because people are adaptable creatures. In fact, there's a term in psychology called hedonic adaptation that essentially states that people will adapt to both positive and negative events. So satisfaction and enough are ever-moving targets. However, that isn't where the story ends, because that would be kind of depressing. The author shares a really interesting article that by the Review of General Psychology that found that happiness is a combination of genetics, life circumstances, and intentional activity, with intentional activity taking up a huge piece of the pie. While the exact mix of these different factors vary from person to person and can be dependent on whether there are any major life events happening, the implications of this are exciting. This means that with intentional effort, you can raise your happiness levels. It also means that your life circumstances don't carry as much weight as you might think. The best news about all of this is that you can raise your happiness baseline and become enchanted with it every day. Every person is going to have a different experience, a different happiness baseline, and different things that work for them. But I wanted to share some things that I've learned that can help you raise your baseline. The first thing has to do with acts of kindness. Serving others is a proven way of raising your own happiness levels. Another tool is to try mindfulness. Now, you've heard me talk about this before, and that's because it's a really powerful tool to living a better life. Applied in this context, mindfulness would be savoring the positive experiences in your life. So enjoying the food that you're eating, feeling the cozy blanket around you in bed, or enjoying the smell of your favorite candle. Another thing you can try is to make intentional effort to spend time with people you care about. A fourth thing to try is writing short, specific gratitudes every day. And I don't mean general life gratitudes like, I'm grateful for my health, or I'm grateful for this house. In a study by the American psychologist, researchers found that 8 specific short gratitudes are all you need. For instance, this morning I wrote that I'm grateful I woke up with a little bit extra energy because I knocked my workout out of the park, and I feel great because of it. I also wrote that I'm grateful that I put together my outfit last night because I was running late this morning. Another thing you can do is to make a list of the ordinary joys in your life. You might be surprised at how many you come up with. For instance, that feeling of self-satisfaction you get when you use the last squeeze of shampoo and you know you've got another bottle ready to go. I always feel like such an accomplished adult when that happens. Finally, try to move your body more. I probably don't need to tell you that exercise releases dopamine, but there you go. These are just some of the tools that have been shown through research to help override the hedonic adaptation that we're all susceptible to. By employing these tools regularly, I have found my happiness baseline so much higher than it was 3 years ago. When I think about the concept of happiness, I think about it as being a combination of the extraordinary moments and the everyday ordinary joys in my life. I believe that you can raise your happiness baseline too with the tools I shared with you today. I'll leave you today with a quote that the author uses in the introduction of her book, From Morpheus in the Matrix. I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Diane. That